Today we're gonna hear what happened at the court hearing and what charges the stalker got. Okay, so if you haven't watched part 1 and 2, the incident and the whole kind of how the whole stalker thing came about, go ahead and do that. Grab a seat and let's go.
So I saw my stalker for the second time on Halloween, exactly 1 year, 8 months, and 15 days after the violent attack where I fought him in hand-to-hand combat and won. The first time I ever remember seeing him was in my kitchen that night, and I was alone. The second time I was with my mom, my stepdad, one of my brothers, and 2 really close friends. Did a couple other videos about the lead up to going to trial and how I had to fight for the case to move forward and not plea out. This moment when I see him for the second time is at the preliminary hearing. And in a preliminary hearing, the 2 lawyers go in front of a judge, present all of the evidence, and the judge decides whether or not they have a strong enough case to actually warrant going to trial. The man who attacked me was there because he was charged with these crimes, and I was there because I was the sole eyewitness to give testimony. I'm going to take you guys through the list of exactly what he was charged with at this stage because it changes. But first, I'm going to tell you guys how it felt to see him. Leading up to seeing him, I was scared. I was nervous. And I remember feeling really protective. I knew that my family was going to be there and really protective of my mom in particular. Like, if he were to say anything, I was really protective of them, with him knowing that he was going to be in the same room with them. And the brother that was there was my little brother, who I'm especially protective of. They all knew him as kind of this mythic figure, idea of a man, and I knew him as a man. He wasn't a character. He was real. Went into it knowing that he was a scary individual. I knew he couldn't physically get us, but for some reason I was preparing for that anyway. We were sitting in the back of the courtroom, my family and I all together, and we were sitting there for a long time before he came out, just kind of watching other cases go back and forth. It was a very open courtroom. And then he came out. And I think he was in kind of a gray jumpsuit. My reaction to him was that he looked skinny. He looked skinnier than when I saw him that night.
Good.
And his skin looked sallow, like sick. He looked sick, I thought. And then I felt kind of lightning shoot down me, like down from my throat, down my spine, down into my feet, when I think it was me processing, maybe my body processing that we were in close proximity again. He's here. He's right there. I was so interested in watching him. I wanted to observe him so badly, and I was just fascinated by watching him. First, when he came in, he didn't know that I was there because we were sitting in the back. So he came and sat down, and he immediately started talking to the judge. And he was calling her by her first name. He was saying, Miss Yvette, Miss Yvette, Miss Yvette. And she was kind of just letting him. And we all kind of looked at each other because we were confused. We were all like, I was like, where's the gavel? Bang, bang, bang. So in all that time, I was able to study him, which I think calmed me down a little bit. Having those minutes before I had to go up on the stand, and before he was even aware of my presence, was like, I gotta read. That was what I wanted, was just to have a read on who I was in battle again. So then they announced that it was my turn to testify, and he became aware that I was in the courtroom. The detective walked over to get me in the back and walk me up to the witness box. The man who attacked me then realized that I was there, and I remember thinking how strange it was that the layout of the room necessitated me walking within maybe 5 feet of him.
Yeah.
And then the way that the witness box is situated,
opposite,
that I was sat directly across from him. So we're thinking, what an intimidating thing to do to someone.
Definitely.
Who's seeing a person that, was so violent and terrifying, thinking like, why would they do it?
That's why some people don't want to
because I was scared to walk past him, pretending to be fine for my family. I didn't want them to know that I was scared. Inside, I was preparing to fight him physically. So I was like, what if he jumps up and he's still handcuffed, but he lurches at me and I have to fight him? And when I sat down in the witness box, like, what if he runs at me and tries to tackle me? It was just everything in my body was going off like, fight. Get sworn in, and I'm sitting up in the witness stand, and he's still talking to this judge. And I look up at her,
how rude of the judge,
because I'm so confused about what's going on, and she's kind of just like dazed, like half there, half not.
Oh, God.
You know, it was a busy room with a lot of chaos, like a lot of people coming in and out that weren't part of the trial, which also kind of seemed strange.
Not very organized.
Because it was like I knew what I was about to talk about was a lot of like essay. And it felt like he was in control, which made me very uncomfortable. And they asked me to say my name and spell my first name and say my first initial. And he says, Miss Yvette, that's not her. That's not Caroline.
What?
There will be a part 2. Part 2, I saw my stalker for the second time on Halloween, 1 year, 8 months, and 15 days after the violent attack where he broke into my home and I fought him.
What do you mean it's not her?
And I was sitting up in the witness box, said my name and spelled my name. A man who was stalking me, who was sat right across from me, looked up at the judge and started yelling, "That's not her. That's not Caroline." All of us in the room are like,
what do you mean?
What? Everyone's confused, including me. Like, I don't know if I'm supposed to, like, say something. Who's Caroline? What is he talking about? Like, is there someone named Caroline? You know, all my whole brain is going crazy. Meanwhile, I'm still feeling very like I'm going to need to fight this guy at any moment's notice, even though he's handcuffed. And after he yells this thing, the room kind of gets quiet and he starts yelling, "Call Motorola, call Facebook. It's a conspiracy. Someone call Facebook." Random, crazy sounding thing, full on rant. And I keep looking up at this judge like,
are you gonna say something?
You gonna do something? So it was just him going on and on. So then finally the judge asks if I can step outside. So now I have to walk right back down in front of him, which I was so uncomfortable with and felt so strange when he's
what do you mean? Can you step
outraged
outside?
and yelling crazy thing. But I do that and I walk out, sit outside in the hallway
is that the wrong
for maybe
person?
10
Is that not
minutes
him?
and then they come get me and I come back in again. He's being somewhat quiet, but he's still kind of like saying stuff to his lawyer or to himself. I'd say like 2 minutes into my testimony and then he starts yelling again. They escort me down and I have to walk down in front of him again.
What?
Oh, he's going to be
He's
calm.
going
He's
on?
promised that he's going to be calm. Maybe 5 more minutes into the story, Assistant DA asks, "You have a scar on your neck from where he held the knife. Is that correct?" I didn't know the questions that she was going to ask. It was all new to me. And I said, "Yes, I do." I didn't know that she knew that. They asked if I could turn to the judge and show the judge the scar on my neck, which is down here. The man who attacked me says, "She's lying. She's lying. Take off your shirt. Pull down your shirt. Show us your scar. I'll prove it. She's lying." Sorry, I'm just mad thinking about it. What the fuck? So now I'm...
Oh my, you're mad? Hun, like, I'm mad for you. What a absolute disorganized thing for the victim. Who gives a crap what he's yelling? Like, what do you mean the judge has to check the scar? Like, surely everything is being checked prior. You would hope that A, the person is correct, the victim, the perpetrator are the right people, the police, you know, the investigation that says that it happened to her. Like, surely you check, you know, all the receipts and IDs and everything. What do you mean? What is going on?
Starting to actually go back in my memory and wonder,
how disrespectful to the victim.
Was he acting like this the night of the attack? Talking to people that weren't there, talking about conspiracies, you know, these kind of crazy things that he's talking about now. Thought back to that night, and he was...
Right. Is he maybe trying, is he doing it on purpose to, like, get, like, you know, the insanity card or whatever that he's trying to get to get a lesser sentence? Is that what he's doing?
So clear. He would ask me a question and I would respond. He would give me a direction and I would do it. There was none of this scattered jumping around. Then something else happened. While he was ranting and screaming at the judge, I had another opportunity to observe him, but this time from the front. First couple times they swore me in, I was too scared to even look in his direction. I was just looking at my family in the back. But after all of this, you know, like delay, I remember like holding my breath and saying, "Just look." Looked at him and was watching him and studying him while he was going back and forth with the judge. I saw then his fear. And I don't take that lightly. I could feel from him that he knew that his life was hanging in the balance with what was happening in that courtroom. He was desperately doing anything that he could to try to control it. And when I realized that he was afraid, it made it less scary for me to look at him, to take up that space and own that space between us. So I was starting to feel more confident in myself, in my being able to speak, in my being able to do this and get through this when I was so scared. I mean, obviously, like, him doing crazy stuff could have gone the opposite way and made me more scared. I felt more and more and more confident in myself. So then I think they probably took me down again and brought me back in, and I started to get through a little more. And this time I looked right at him while I was speaking. When he was doing these outbursts, he couldn't hold my gaze. He would look down at the base of the witness box. Whatever shit he was saying filled me up even more with confidence that I could endure and I could withstand whatever I needed to withstand, and that he wasn't going to be free to do this to someone else. But we weren't able to get through my testimony that day because of his outbursts. And then his lawyer called for a competency evaluation, which he'd already had. What was that? Which was like, I think 3 months. I'll talk about competency evaluation. So they set another date for us to come back and for me to do the testimony over again. A list of all of the charges filed against the man who stalked and attacked me at the time of the preliminary hearing. I do remember thinking, do we need to do this on Halloween? Like, is there another day that we could maybe pick? And I'm going to list them up here. First is Penal Code 220B, assault with intent to commit felony while in the commission of a burglary of the first degree. So if someone attempts breaking into someone's home, that carries a life sentence in California. Excellent. So that was a big one. California. Also, I haven't told you guys what I do for work, but I'm hungover from an event that I designed that happened last night. So funny. It was actually an event for dogs. It went really well and it was really cute. So I'm going to make a little video about it, and I'll tell you guys more about what I do for work, like working creative, basically. For brands. Next charge is Penal Code 459, burglary. Then Penal Code 211, robbery. Difference between burglary and robbery is breaking into your home. Robbery is stealing. The last one is 245, assault with a deadly weapon. Didn't know that he was stalking me yet. That came later. We were confused about what the charges were and why some things were on there and some things seemed like they weren't. Essay wasn't on there. Oh my god. Attempted unaliving wasn't on there. And like, we didn't get
that's why you can see part 1 and 2. That's talked about.
I mean, we didn't get any say. But yeah, I'm hungover from the fun dog event and I am on the couch cozy, gonna watch Halloween movies, allow myself one McDonald's hit a year. Got everything that I love. I got chicken nuggets, I got a fish fillet, I got a cheeseburger, I got fries, and I got a high C orange. It was one of the best and worst moments of my life. And maybe it was a mistake. So like I said, this changes and there are more charges added after I testify in the preliminary hearing.
Oh, good. Yeah, so that was like a little kind of update to what happened. It was crazy that she had to endure what happened to the court. And the judge feels like always they're not siding with the victims and they have to go through, and it didn't get the hearing on that day. So she has to postpone it to another day, like she said, and go through it again and read a letter and everything that happened. And then more stuff got added. So it's like a big mess. And it's honestly, many people saying that she needs a series or I don't even know if a movie is gonna cover it all, but there's a lot that went on. But anyway, what a brave lady that went through all this. And yeah, that's it, guys. Thank you so much for watching and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.